You hit the books, landed a decent job, and you've been saving away at that 401k like there's no tomorrow. All for that golden ticket to a safe and cozy retirement. But there's a catch. The ticket is a knockoff. You see, retirement, as we've been sold it, is becoming a relic of the past. Less than a third of American workers are on track to retire in any traditional sense, and even fewer can hope for what we'd call a comfortable retirement. And if you're thinking, hey, I'm different, I've got my savings plan and my investments all lined up. Well, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but there's a storm brewing on the horizon and it's not looking pretty. I'm not just talking about the usual suspects here, the housing market and the stock market. Those are just the tip of the iceberg. I'm talking about the broader economic conditions, ones that are challenging our very assumptions about the growth and stability of an economy. Before we crash into the iceberg, like, comment, and subscribe for more videos like this so you can pretend you read The Economist at dinner parties. Don't be a midwit. To cut to the chase, you're probably not going to retire anytime soon. Not in the way you've been dreaming of anyway. And it's not just you. You see, if you're already lagging in the retirement race, chances are you're never going to catch up. It was only possible for a short period because of a rare combination of factors. The whole concept of retirement is now a fleeting phenomenon. So you might be wondering what changed. Remember the good old days of job stability? Well, today's job market is a roller coaster with less security and more see you laters than ever before. Inflation? It's through the roof, making the middle class lifestyle a pipe dream for most. In fact, the middle class hardly even exists anymore. You're either a person that has or has not. If you were lucky enough to get into the market years ago, then you're singing your praises. But if you're not, which the majority of the young workforce isn't, then you're probably still living at your parents'. Gone are the days when you could clock in 30 years, get a nice pension from your company and the government, and maybe save a little on the side. That was enough to keep you afloat back then. But now, pensions are rare and replaced by 401ks at the mercy of a market that's as stable as a house of cards in a storm. And savings? Forget about it. With interest rates hovering around a measly 0.05%, stashing your cash in a savings account is like trying to fill a leaking bucket. You put in $10,000 and inflation is there to greet you with a $345 annual loss. So with so few options left, people are now turning to riskier investments, hoping for a miracle. But when the bubble bursts, as it always does, that nest egg isn't just cracked, it's scrambled. And so you have to keep working. Even if you're already retired, chances are you may have to get back to work because the cost of living is simply too high for your measly pension. Then there is the average Joe, who can't even afford the basics anymore without signing his life away to a lender. He's financing his life, chaining himself to a never-ending cycle of work just to keep up with the payments. The cycle starts early, meaning most people are never able to get off the carousel and start positioning themselves for not having a steady income. But how did we get to this point? And is there a possibility of a future where this changes? First and foremost, we have to talk about housing, the cornerstone of the American dream, or so we were told. From Generation X onward, we've been spoon-fed this narrative. Work hard, get educated, land a job, buy a house, start a family, and voila, happy ending. But let's face it, this story was more fiction than fact. It kind of worked for a while until the Great Recession came along and blew the cover off this well-crafted fairy tale. The truth is, the idea of retiring while you're still spry enough to enjoy it is a pretty new concept in the grand scheme of things. And now it's slipping further out of reach, thanks in no small part to the housing market. Getting your hands on those keys is a Herculean task. With prices skyrocketing and wages struggling to keep up, the average home price is 141% higher than what the median family earnings can afford. Home prices also continue to rise 2 times faster than income, meaning the gap is only getting worse. As a result, the age of a first-time homeowner is increasing, hitting a staggering 35 in 2023. Plus, young buyers if they can buy it all, are often settling for less space, like apartments and townhouses, not the spacious family homes of the American dream that was sold to us. This not only makes it less likely that they will have a big family, but it also makes their chances of financial stability even worse. Why? Often they have to take on risky financing deals to even afford these closets called homes. In contrast, those who bought the assets decades ago are only getting richer, thus widening the gap between the haves and have-nots. And it's not just housing either. Here's a hard truth that might just flip your perspective. High asset prices, the glittering stars of the financial world, are only a boon if you're already in the club. If you're standing outside, nose pressed against the glass, these soaring values aren't your golden ticket. They're the barrier keeping you out. Historically, the PE ratio of the S&P 500 has hovered around a multiple of 15, meaning that, on average, the stock price was 15 times the company's net income. However, this multiple is sitting around 32 in 24, double the average. This high PE ratio indicates that people either need to invest 2 times as much to fund their retirement or rely on the next biggest idiot to buy their shares off them in retirement for an even higher PE multiple. This situation creates a precarious scenario for retirement planning, as it relies heavily on continued market growth and the willingness of future investors to buy at these inflated prices. But this idea of constant economic growth is a myth. It's a fairy tale that's been the bedrock of our retirement dreams. Post-World War II, America was riding high, the only major industrial power left standing, untouched by the ravages of war. This led to an era of booming growth, low inflation, and favorable trade winds. It was a sweet spot, a rare alignment of the stars that made the retirement dream seem within reach for the average Joe. But as history shows us, from the ancient Chinese dynasties to the Roman Empire, what goes up must come down. Fast forward to today, and the American Empire is facing a similar situation. The headwinds that our grandparents never dreamed of are finally here. As laid out by economist Robert J. Gordon, the 6 economic headwinds are demographic shifts, educational challenges, skyrocketing inequality, environmental hurdles, and a mountain of debt. Each of those are reshaping the retirement landscape in ways we can't ignore. First up, the demographic dividend is gone. Remember when the economy got a turbo boost as women joined the workforce from the 60s to the 90s? Well, that's history. We can't double our workforce again unless we push retirement ages to the moon. Then there's the education. It's getting pricier and less relevant, and frankly, a 4-year degree isn't what it used to be. In the United States, there are currently 52.8 million people aged 25 or more who hold a bachelor's degree, yet around 53% of recent college graduates are unemployed or underemployed. The third headwind is inequality, and it's more than a buzzword. Income growth is now a VIP party, and guess what? Most of us aren't on the list. The richest 1% bag nearly twice as much wealth as the rest of the world put together over the past 2 years. It's no longer survival of the fittest, but survival of the richest. This isn't just unfair, it's a recipe for economic stagnation, one that will eventually lead to the crumbling of the economy and a whole bunch of oligarchs. Now, let's talk about the environment and energy, the 4th and 5th headwinds. The bill for our fossil fuel binge is coming due, and it's the younger generations who are picking up the tab, either through tougher regulations or, worse, environmental disasters. Either way, it's a drag on growth. And the final headwind, the big D, debt. Government debt, household debt, corporate debt, it's all piling up. Eventually, it's got to be paid back, and that means less money for everything else, including, you guessed it, retirement savings. So what's the takeaway from all of this? It's simple. The old rules don't apply anymore. And to make matters worse, not only does the younger generation have to fight with all these economic factors turning against them, the boomer and other retiring generations have to work with fewer workers supporting them. With a birth rate that has dropped by nearly 23% since 2007, there will be less workers available to support the future economy. So what does this mean for you, me, and the guy next door? It's time to wake up and smell the coffee. The retirement dream, as we know it, needs a serious reality check. Now, you may be thinking innovation and progress may save us, but I hate to be the bearer of bad news. The majority of true innovations happened decades ago. We're living in an age where the big names in business are all hailed as pioneers, but if we scratch beneath the surface, what do we find? It's a game of mix and match with existing technologies repackaged and sold as groundbreaking. The truth is, the era of monumental breakthroughs, the kind that reshape the world, might just be behind us. Take a company like Uber. Revolutionary? Not quite. They took the internet, smartphones, and cars, none of which they invented, and created a slick, marketable package. Sure, it changed how we got from A to B, but did it really push the boundaries of human capability? Hardly. This is what most innovation looks like today, solving problems of convenience, not creating something truly new. And this has serious implications. When companies focus on tweaking and repurposing rather than genuine innovation, we're just riding the wave of past successes, hoping it doesn't crash. And while the magical unicorn called AI may be a true innovation, it likely won't lead to the effects many believe it will have. The so-called experts believe AI will create more jobs than it will destroy. But the question becomes, for who? The majority of workers that will lose their jobs are likely to be labor or service workers. Considering none of them will have a computer engineering degree, they're going to be shit out of luck and stuck taking on a less stable and lower paid job. With a lower paid job and an insecure future, the chances of retirement are slim to none for the majority. So there you have it, folks. The hard-hitting truth about our economic future and the fading fantasy of retirement. It seems the golden tickets to a carefree retirement were handed out a generation ago. And now, we're scrambling for the leftovers at a feast that's long over. It's time we prepare ourselves for an economy that no longer guarantees the retirements we've been promised. If you want to learn more about the future of our economy, hit that subscribe button and don't forget to share it with your Midwit friends. Until next time, see you in the next video.